Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Friday the 29th of November. So, what we've got in store today, firstly let's just check the news events. Well, it's Black Friday today, if you hadn't noticed. I don't suppose you'll have really noticed, had you, unless you'd looked at any bit of social media, email. Anyway, it's Black Friday today, so it's the day between Thanksgiving and the weekend, and often it's a bit quieter. I pre-warn you that now. A lot of people take it as an additional holiday, wrapping up making it into a long weekend. So be prepared for that. This morning, I'm just going to refresh this, get the other data in here. This morning, well, we've seen some European data which isn't on here. I mean, it's not big movement, but bigger movement because individual countries like France, for example, here with their GDP and some inflation data there, all below expectation. Their consumer spending minus 0.4 and not necessarily showing the things it wants to show. Import prices into Germany 0.6 higher. Not necessarily a great thing. I know it's labelled green there because it's inflationary, but well, we'll see how things develop from that. Anyway, today we do have some inflation data out there overall. It's the flash estimates, etc. That's at 10 o'clock. We might see a little bit of movement around that. It's not, doesn't have the same impact as earlier estimates. We've got Bank of England Governor speaking at 11 o'clock. He's due to hold a press conference about the financial stability report. Well, there we are. Who knows what could happen from that? But I wouldn't expect it's anything significant. And then we've got Canadian GDP this afternoon. That's a monthly number, so it tends to have a lower impact than it suggested there as red. So not a great deal there, and a quietish market, although the markets are open for trading. Let's look through these markets. Then euro dollar. I've talked about it a few times this week about whether the euro is actually on a bit of a change of direction, and it certainly seems to be. I'm just going to readjust this. There we go. Certainly seems to be. It's switched out of where it was. It's slow. It's the difficult wave when things are changing. People are unsure and money flows back and forth a little bit. So we get into another key point, and not far away here. This previous high. If we can start seeing it pushing beyond there, well then maybe we're seeing signs of even a bigger correction. Okay, so that's the main thing there in terms of upside. Short term, there's no setups. Someone asked me the other day about how do you trade some of these things. Well, there's absolutely no setup on this for me today at the moment. It's hit its daily pivot, which I like to trade off of. But it's not really doing so, and it's already through its S2. But it's such a tight day yesterday. Yes, we could be pushing on higher from this, but I don't buy into highs. So in near-term highs, I'm normally looking for a bit of a retrace. It was looking okay that it had potential yesterday for a bit of an upside, but it just didn't come out. Anyway, that's the euro. Nothing to be seen. The pound a little bit stronger here. Pushing up, and it's sort of making it a little bit more clearer its intention, but the same sort of pattern, just slightly stronger, higher lows coming through. It did push off yesterday from that little flag pattern, but it was an afternoon sort of move. Late morning it sort of went there, then just dilly-dallied, and it was quite later in the afternoon there, 2 o'clock, when it really started moving a bit, but never really legged it. But it is a bit of a crafty, stealthy move this, and up it's pushed since. It's had a good Asian session even into the late evening, early morning session. It's pushed up there. It's made it tricky at the moment because it has again run through all its pivots. Its pivots are pinched, but so we could go yet another level, but it doesn't give us a lot of target at the moment. Dollar yen, Well, the yen's on a move. It's certainly changed direction at the moment, and I'm looking for shorts on the dollar yen. But I said this yesterday. Sometimes it's a lot easier to get into than others. Yesterday, it barely moved at all, and then all the way through, there wasn't really a signal saying, right, this is going now, and then eventually it's gone through. Well, 11 o'clock last night it started moving, 12 o'clock into the Asian session. I don't trade at this point, and off it's gone. So looks great retrospectively, and you look at that and you think, yeah, he's good, he knows his technical stuff, but yeah, just can't always get the entries. The entry would have been a more defined move down maybe in the afternoon there, but it just went, it's just flat. With the US markets not really doing anything, particularly when London, by the time you get past 3-4 o'clock, you've got London coming off there, and you're running into really just the end of the US and the early lower volume markets. Right, anyway, it's moved for now, but at least it's showing us a picture of where we're going for next week, potentially with further downside on the cards there. And a softer dollar coming through. It's showing it across many of these markets now. Just about anyway. Slowly, Aussie dollar picking up here. Higher lows coming through. It's quite a mess still. I discounted this yesterday because the mess, it was sort of sitting in there, and it's not really doing too much more. It's stealthily moving upwards there, already into its R2. Generally, I'm not keen trader once it gets beyond these levels, because the statistics of it pushing up much more in a day is pretty low. This is getting rejected. The S2 is rejecting, and there's a quarterly pivot sitting there as well, that longer line, so it's running to resistance for now at least. So that's off the agenda for today. US dollar CAD, now this has been getting stronger gradually. Once I can get it onto the picture, there we go. Again, it's slow, it's working its way southbound on the dailies just about. There's actually, if we come back to that, there's into next week, we're going to have it sort of approaching quite a significant little trend line there. See if it breaks that level, but it's certainly doodling along there. Lower highs, lower lows continuing to run through here. Again, yesterday it really didn't do too much at all, and it's probably flattering it at the moment, the current move. We'll see what it does this morning. If it gets back to the pivot and starts rejecting the pivot again, well then perhaps we could have further downside and just a continued drift on there. Right, that's the US dollar CAD. New Zealand dollar, very similar to the Aussie. It has actually picked up fractionally more on the lower side there. It's given us this bull flag that it was running through from yesterday, and it's again nothing to be seen yesterday. Or a lot of it just through the Asian session there. It's been pushing up quite well, but it's again gone a bit extended for me at the moment. US dollar Swissy. Looking for more downside on this. It's working its way. It's put lower highs in. It's not the prettiest picture. Like a lot of these, they've sort of taken these Asian moves and not setting anything up at this point so far. Now, when the markets are like this, it appears there's nothing to be done or seen for a while, and across some of these markets that's probably just the case. However, they do change, and they can change in the morning sessions, giving us opportunities later in the afternoon or late morning. But at the moment, these are very thin. Some of the usual suspects, Euro CAD, we've seen some action on this, but it's been, oops, there we go. Daily wise, it's continued on this pattern to the upside, but yesterday it was continued to the downside for a while. It just didn't really get there, but it's, well, I don't particularly like it where it's sitting. I mean, particularly with the current candle, I think these could roll back, but at some stage maybe it too will get a bit more momentum and movement. For now though, there isn't a lot there in terms of which currencies today. None of them at the moment. Now I'm going to look through the other crosses this morning and see if there's any good action there. I quite like the fact that the yen strengthening, so maybe on some of the yen pairs we might see something a little bit clearer if we got a weaker currency, but everything seems to be making a bit of headway against the US dollar. Looking at other markets, gold up this morning by quite a bit there. Let's have a look at the markets there. It's gradually it was looking bearish market yesterday, but it didn't really move too much, and then it's gone back up there. The earlier sort of little tiny bear flags, etc., not happening. The bigger, call that bull flag, it'd be a difficult one. It is at this stage looking more positive than negative with what it's doing, and a softer dollar will help anyway. So we could see further continuation if the dollar continues to soften slightly. Oil. So oil is really a pig's ear at the moment. Really, with 3 days of hardly any movement, you see it clearer on the 4-hourly look. It's just not tradable when it's doing this. Obviously, markets closed yesterday, and so nothing to be seen there. Equity markets, of course, the S&P's cash markets were closed yesterday. Futures drifting, not really doing too much here. I think mostly we've got the potential of pushing and continuing to the upside. The markets tend to like this time of year. A lot of money made. We'll see what the figures come out next week after, but lots of money turnover made, and the people will be judging the streets and the shops, how busy they are, to see whether there'll be even more buying into the equity markets. Anyway, it's often a positive time around this week. Right, close to home though, the FTSE still not really doing too much here. It's on a daily basis, it's got into yet another consolidated phase. Seems to like its consolidated phases. This is frozen for a moment. There we go. There you go. See, most of this week it's really done very little. There's no point going beyond that. The DAX, it's not doing a great deal either. DAX, oh, it's ugly, isn't it, on the dailies? Really ugly, but you can just make some positivity out of it on the weekly pattern here. It did come back, test its weekly pivot and shift off there, but it's well, perhaps a bit of good consolidation before it gets another shove up. Some of these days are quite flattering, and you're not necessarily wanting to be looking for longs when the market's been coming down here, lower highs, lower lows, but it's switched back. But it is looking a bit more positive at the moment. We could see a bit more of a bounce coming from that. Okay, in terms of entries, I don't have an entry on this at the moment. It's there's a potential breakout, but you're probably better off in the current situation waiting for the breakout and retest, and then look for the buy signals. But nothing immediate on this. Right, okay, I shall leave it there. I wish you a great weekend, and I will catch you on Monday morning. Take care, have a great one, bye.